In Kong Skull Island, we learned of Kong's isolated existence, being the only one of his kind left alive. But the history of Kong and his parents is one of tragedy, and is one that is far more tragic than you may have previously thought. In the 4-part limited comic run, Skull Island, The Birth of Kong, we learn more about the great beast, the protector of Skull Island himself, King Kong. In the 2nd issue, a monarch operative, Rikio, begins getting visions of the past. Some type of psychic link to the island is created, and he begins to understand the writings of the Iwi. Now, the reason for this is due to being given some strange liquid substance by the Iwi to help heal him. It's implied in the comic that he becomes addicted to this substance and continues to drink it, despite not necessarily needing to. As they enter one of the many temples on Skull Island, Rikio begins getting visions, understanding the writing and seeing into the past. He begins seeing the history of Kong, Skull Island, and the Kong superspecies. He sees how the Kong were numerous. Many, huge numbers of Kong roamed and called this place their home. But he also sees them deep in battle. The Skullcrawlers had risen from the depths of the hollow earth, causing death and destruction. The Kong superspecies held them off for as long as they could. We see vicious battles and bloody death. We learn that when the Iwi arrived on the island, there were only 2 Kong left. A male and a female. These Kong were the mightiest, the strongest, the largest. These were Kong's parents. They would be the king and queen of Skull Island, and rightfully so, after doing battle with hundreds of Skullcrawlers and proving themselves victorious. It wasn't the power of the Skullcrawlers that wiped out the Kong, but it was their sheer numbers. With all but the last 2 remaining, there was now little hope for the Kong species. But what happened from here? How did they die, and how did Kong come to be? As we go into the 3rd issue of The Birth of Kong, it's here that we see the comic's namesake, the birth of the future king of Skull Island, King Kong. Our characters head to the boneyard, the very same boneyard we see in the film. They see the 2 skeletons, Kong's parents, and they also encounter Skullcrawlers. Fearing for their lives, they run to a nearby cave to seek refuge. And it's here that Rikio has another vision. It's here we learn that this place was tragically intended to be Kong's nursery, his home, where he would grow and learn with his parents. And as Rikio begins to see the past, he states, "I can see the birth of Kong. This place, the boneyard, it was the home of the Kong superspecies, their den. And the place, the last place to fall to the Skullcrawlers." And the last 2 Kong to fall were, of course, Kong's parents, the surviving duo that the Iwi had seen when they arrived on the island all those years ago. But this time, we see that one is heavily pregnant. In fact, close to term. However, this didn't prevent them from battling the Skullcrawlers. No, it drove them on, harder, stronger. They had more to live for, their child. And Rikio continues, narrating what he sees. By the time Kong was conceived, things were long past hopeless, but still, his mother and father fought, and they fought right up to the birth of their one and only child, Kong. Kong was born in battle, in blood, in thunder, in fire and in death. Kong's first images, his first impression of this world, he only knew his mother for an instant. He had one instant in her arms, all he had for the rest of his life. And as Rikyo is saying this, we see Kong's father fending off 4 Skullcrawlers, as his mother seals up Kong in the very same cave Rikyo and the others are now hiding in. We see Kong's bloody father fighting on, continuing until the bitter end. And we see Kong watching on, watching as his mother and father are savaged by the Skullcrawlers. We see the sadness in his eyes as he witnesses his mother slaughtered, his father brutally killed. And we see the sadness turn to hatred, to rage, to fury. And that fury would become Kong's power. When the fighting ceased, Kong ventured out of the cave and he crawled to his parents, their final resting place, and he wept. He wept long into the night, and we learn the true history of Kong, the king of Skull Island, the god among monsters. But also the orphan, the deeply hurt and damaged, lonely, the last of his species. And there you have it, folks. That is the tragic history of Kong. I'd really like to think that this is something that will be expanded upon in the upcoming Godzilla vs. Kong. But as the comic run did such a beautiful job at this, I'm not sure that it's entirely necessary. However, it would be great for the movie-going audience to learn this, and not just those fans who picked up the comic. If you enjoyed this video, then please do hit that like button, and if you want to stay tuned for more weekly Monsterverse lore and discussion videos, please do hit that subscribe button. As always, thank you so much for watching. I've been Mr. H. Take care.